Women are emotionally malnourished in relationships, and this oftentimes is a result of giving more than we are receiving. Sometimes we feel as if we're receiving very little in return. Living with chronic pain and terminal illness can be overwhelming, and through my 9-year relationship, I learned a few things. The dynamics that served us in the past are no longer enough. We find ourselves in cycles of conflict avoidance, resentment, emotional disconnection, and what once seemed like narcissistic behavior was actually rooted in trauma-induced brain damage. Together, we learn a lot of things. 50-50 relationships is not sustainable. Juggling the demands of home, work lead to burnout, depression, and emotional exhaustion. If you find yourself feeling detached and you have this urge to leave the relationship, I want you to understand what creates a harmonious relationship. When you nurture a healthy relationship with yourself and you establish a spiritual routine, you attract divine guidance, protection, and peace. Over 80% of women have autoimmune diseases from suppressing emotions, and I believe these numbers are actually much higher. Check this out.
So, there are 80% of people, 80% of autoimmune disease, which are diseases where the immune system attacks the body that it's supposed to protect.
And can you what are a few examples of an autoimmune disease?
Multiple sclerosis, rheumatoid arthritis, systemic lupus, pubic fibromyalgia, chronic fatigue, ulcerative colitis, Crohn's disease, forms of psoriasis, autoimmune eczema, scleroderma. I could go on and on. There's about 100 or so of these, and 80% of them happen to women.
Why?
Well, so in my medical practice, I began to notice, and here's my advantage over my specialist colleagues, is that they know a lot more about certain body parts and systems, as they should, but they don't know the patient. I knew people before they got sick, and I knew them in the context of their families of origin and the extended family very often. So I got to see who got sick and who didn't. And when I was in palliative care, again, I saw who ended up in palliative care and who didn't. And these people had 4 significant characteristics. One is they tended to put other people's emotional needs ahead of their own, and they tended to ignore their own, number one. Number two, they tended to identify with duty, role, and responsibility rather than the needs of the self. Number three, they tended to be very nice, which means they repressed healthy anger. The healthy anger is a boundary defense. And these people tend to be very nice. And number four, these people tended to believe that they're responsible for other people feel, which is a point that you address in your book, Let Them, and that they had this belief that they must never disappoint anybody. Now, those beliefs lead you into not saying no to the demands of the world, and you're constantly taking on stuff and stress and other people's stress. You get stressed. That stress undermines the immune system, which then turns against you. Now, in this, and I could explain the physiology of it. And by the way, people, because the immune system and the hormonal apparatus and the nervous system and the emotional system are one system. They're not separate. They're wired together in a whole lot of chemical and neurological ways. I'm not making this up. This is science. Science is called psychoneuroimmunology, or psychology and neurology, immunology, and endocrinology, the hormones. It's all one system. People that repress healthy anger, they're suppressing their immune system biologically. Now, if you understand that it's all one system, and if you ask why, well, what is the role of healthy anger? It's a boundary defense. What is the role of the immune system? It's a boundary defense. It's meant to let in what is good and nurture and keep out what is toxic and dangerous. When you're suppressing your emotions, you're also messing with your immune system because it's all one